Good morning. How are you? Well, we're approaching winter. We have temperature in the 50s, overcast. I don't think it's going to rain, but you never know. And I'm dressing a little warmer. Yesterday, I sort of found a breaking point in the teasings of our friends, the Democrats, a party I belonged to a long time. And so, just like a married couple doesn't agree all the time, Democrats don't agree all the time. In fact, Biden became our president, in part, because he listened to the strong criticism of Clyburn out of South Carolina, a congressman. And Clyburn told him, make your speeches short. Focus on 3 items. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, invoking his Christian background. And he said, what are you going to do for persons of color? And he confronted him to make a specific identification of those things he would do, including that he would put a woman on the court and she'd be a person of color, the Supreme Court we're talking about. So when it comes to Biden, we should be aware that he is slower to make certain decisions, and he does listen to people. So we have to tell him what we think if we're critical. Now I got to push back from some people for saying that Biden shouldn't tease us talking about cloture. That is, that he would reform it for the purposes of voting rights, which I can't imagine a more important issue for having power and authority in the legislature or in the West Wing. But he said he's thinking about cloture. Well, thinking about it, is it enough? We have to do it, not talk about it, not tease, not think that we're intimidating the Republicans by saying, we may have cloture. They would do it in a New York Minute or a Virginia Hour. So they know what they want, and why don't we want it? And the answer is they tease us. They don't lead. And so I put up a thing saying, look, come talk to us, Biden, when you're doing it. Don't tell us that you're going to do it. It's just like these phony votes that they have on the question of voting rights. They had 2 votes on it, and it went nowhere. And one version was Manchin's voting rights bill. Not a single Republican supported it. Oh yes, tell me again about bipartisanship, please, please, please. Could be a song by James Brown. So, where do we stand? If we as citizens don't tell Biden to stop trying to fool us, because it's not fooling the Republicans if that was his aim, do it, or don't talk about it, because you look weak. You have to fight for what's right. We're fighting against autocrats who've made it their mission to not allow us to do anything, and we're quibbling over even a narrow approval of the cloture, meaning a majority vote instead of 60 votes for the Voting Rights Act, and thereby perhaps protecting the nation in the midterms and then in the presidential election in 2024. Now, it's existential because in a political sense, where will the House be without these reforms? Who will be in the White House in 2024? Will it be Biden if he runs again? Will it be a Democrat if Biden decides not to run or can't run for some reason? That's the way we have to look at this. And who we elect to the Congress determines what agenda we push. Can we pick up another senator or 2? Can we get more members of Congress so there's not such a narrow division in the House? And do we want to have McCarthy and McConnell, the 2 Celtic wrongdoers, in charge of the Congress while Biden is in the White House? I don't think so. And so the politics of this are pretty straightforward. And it's been true for a long time that this is what we have to do. And there are important bills, but none of them will pass unless we deal with this cloture vote, at least until the midterms. And I think if we don't deal with it before the midterms, we stand very likely to lose the midterms. And that will roll over into the general election that follows 2 years later. So we have to start being smart about this, and we're not. We have to start being tough about this, and we're not. We have to stop BSing the people who can see that what they're saying is not for real. Like the 2 token votes for voting rights that they knew they were going to lose, and then they wring their hands like it's good enough to have it as a campaign issue. No, it's not. This is about the nuts and bolts of how you run an election, how you get elected, how you win, how you lose. We have to win. And we see here in Virginia that in the final days, it's like Democrats are waking up, and now they're charging all over the state to close the gap, which is very tight, between the Democratic candidate, McAuliffe, who was the governor of Virginia, and the challenger, Youngkin, who's never held a public office in his life, or as far as I know, never done anything for any goo-goo group in his entire life. But he has money and he can buy the seat, and that's what he's trying to do in the last roundup. So we have to do better than that. Plan ahead. So that's my thinking. Now, one footnote on the subpoena that they've taken over to the Attorney General by now. Have you heard anything? No, nothing. And then when are we going to hear anything? Oh, I don't know, when they get around to it, when they think about it. And then what will happen? Well, it will take months, years. And is that an effective way to enforce discovery on people who are in contempt of Congress? And like I said the other day, build the damn jail in the basement, let the world see it, and then summon these people yourself, and don't rely on the courts, and don't rely on the Department of Justice. And when they sue for habeas, go into court with your sword flailing around, cutting them to ribbons with good legal arguments. That's how I would do it. That's how I think we should do it. We have bad tidings, in my opinion. My old office, the Southern District of New York, may have convicted Lev Parnas, but he was working for Rudy Giuliani. What happened to Rudy? He's not being prosecuted. What happened to Trump, who's supposedly involved in this too? Nothing. So what does that tell us? My old office has become, so passive. We have so many timid public figures, either appointed office or elective office, who don't do their jobs. Courage. We need more courage. Where are the people that would emulate Bobby Kennedy or Lyndon Johnson on his home legislation? All the stuff, the war on poverty. Where is the Jimmy Carter or the Obama? Where do we find those people among the current crop of so-called leaders? It's hard to find them. They're hiding. They don't want to do it. They give us great speeches, but they don't act. So that's my beef for the day. It's still nice out, and I'll be here on Sunday in my cathedral of trees. All the best. Bye-bye.